Now, a Talk Radio 1210 WPHT special presentation.
It's the end of the world.
Hey, Nero, let's put a trigger warning on trigger warnings.
I gotta take it on the other side.
Yes, we're back. Anthony DiRenzo, Dan Borowski with the Otherside podcast as we take you behind the scenes, 1210 WPHT on the other side of the glass, and talk about what we want to talk about, Anthony. And one of the most pressing things today, we'll get right into it. This morning, AT&T sees a huge outage of cell service, and my friends are texting me. Reddit's going crazy with conspiracy theories, and there is some information that's come out again about this. Everyone's service just went kaput this morning. And it looks like it might have been a solar flare this morning, something natural. But Anthony, do you think this might be the start of something more, or where do you stand on it?
Yeah, this is the plot of the Obama movie is falling out now. Isn't that what everyone said online?
They actually tweeted that out. Yeah.
That's
So,
good. That guy deserves a raise for sure.
In the film, it's essentially the end of the world, and what it starts with is EMPs knocking out all of technology. And is that what we saw today? No, not quite, allegedly. But we'll see going forward, man. And I do think that's the future of warfare, is not necessarily bombs, nukes, missiles. It's nukes, but it's up in space, knocking out, infrastructure and such. And it's scary what can be done, man. It is. But
and I mean, there are reports it's hitting like hospital systems too. So
911 was knocked out for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And imagine all the financial stuff that goes on through, these types of connectivity. It's scary, man. But again, welcome in. It's been a while since we've been on here. It's been about a week and a half or so. But a lot to talk about, man. A lot unfolding with the Phillies, Eagles. Spring training starts this weekend. And a lot in the world of politics I want to get to. A ruling in Alabama that I am actually pretty pissed off about. But Anthony, I'm going to give you the floor first. Is there anything that's pressing with the DiRenzo that you want to talk about, sir?
I don't know. I would say the craziest thing that happened since we were gone is I saw the former president at SneakerCon, which sounded like a joke, but it was actually a real thing because I showed up and Secret Service was there searching everyone at SneakerCon of all places. And yeah, here he is pointing at everyone in the crowd with his gold sneakers. And
freaking awesome strategy, man.
Came out, signed a Playboy, threw it into the crowd. It was like it's a joke. It was like,
so what was the vibe of the crowd? Was it mostly anti-Trump people? Was there pro-Trump people?
Honestly, expected way more protests, especially because it was announced. I mean, a good deal before he was there, so I thought there'd be protesters. I didn't see really many protesters. I mean, I saw people that booed him, didn't like him clearly, and were cheering against him throughout the entire day and visibly talking against Trump supporters too. But I would say there were less of those people than I expected. I mean, there are a lot of people either that like Trump. I mean, you could tell the diehard Trump people, from probably the Poconos that came down to Philly for it. But then you could also tell, like, there was plenty of people there that supported Trump that were from Philly, and
what was the demographic? Obviously skewing younger, I would assume early 20s, right?
Yeah, for the most part, but there was still a good amount of like middle age, like 30 to 40s, like max age. And yeah, black, white, Latino, pretty much every culture. Any culture you could think of was there.
Now, was this like, if you're helping Trump to campaign and strategize, is this something you would have suggested? Is there actually an audience that wants to hear Trump at the SneakerCon? Do you think he captured any voters with this move?
I mean, I know people were mad and said that the SneakerCon, the people that run it are now making it a political platform and things of that nature. I don't know. I mean, it was a little bit of a gimmick. Trump really didn't say much. He said, we got to get out and vote. This is a different crowd than usual. A lot of emotion. People booed him, whatever. He brought up some sycophant psycho.
Yeah, when that lady came up, was he like eye rolling in the audience, or?
I mean, some people cheered it, but I would say generally, yeah, it was eye rolling a little bit. And then people just started chanting F Joe Biden, and he liked that. And she went down off the stage.
Were you
and
chanting it as well, or?
I mean, not really. I was kind of just observing, which I think a lot of people were just like intrigued. That was a big part of the crowd.
Yes, we need him. He's a Christian. He's a good, honest man. They're after him for no reason. Go out and vote for Trump. Vote Trump. No paper. Go out and vote.
I mean, it was hard to hear though.
He's a good
there.
man.
Was it?
Look at his family. They're all good kids. All good kids. Yes.
Nobody heard her.
Yes!
Nobody there heard her.
Really? It was
Yeah.
really drowning them out?
No, yeah, the whoever, I mean, the mics that you heard it better through the website or the TV stream. It was very hard to hear there. Like the engineering and sound people didn't do great having his stuff set up for the people there. It was hard to hear.
What was the final bid? $9,000 on the golden sneakers?
Yeah, now they're reselling. I mean, they came
Yeah,
out
did
for
you see that?
400.
Yeah,
I mean,
check this out.
they didn't sell them like at the sneaker con. I think he threw like a pair into the crowd, but
Gotcha.
yeah, 450. That's insane
Ridiculous, right? But the
for the
thing
dumbest
is,
shoes. The dumbest shoes. Like,
honestly, the
look
whole
at
most
no.
fascinating thing,
It's like you asked AI, make me a Trump shoe, and that's what it is. It's
it's really what
crazy.
it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Most fascinating thing is it's a strategy and him, trying to appeal to younger voters, which I love to see. But also, there was a really fascinating thing that came out of this, in which the buyer of the shoes was labeled a Russian oligarch, and fake news just spun it up and spun it up. And the guy came out, and he's actually from Ukraine, and he spoke about this, why he bought the shoes, and he's a sneakerhead. He owns a luxury company, but it just really shines a light on the mainstream's media ability to twist something into something that it's not. Take a watch.
So, bought a pair of sneakers, these sneakers. And apparently, they made me a Russian oligarch overnight. Here's how. Guys, I'm a sneakerhead. I'm also a U.S. Army veteran. And yes, I am a Republican. The title of the article read, "A Russian oligarch spends $9,000 on sneakers to support Trump." Sounds sketchy, but I actually came from Ukraine. At the time, it was part of the Soviet Union. I came here at the age of 13 as a refugee, but my dad had $4 in his pocket. I busted my ass working every dirty job under the sun to get where I am today in order to be able to afford to buy these $9,000 pair of collectible sneakers. But I guess the headline of Russian refugee, Ukrainian refugee, or perhaps maybe just a man, that would not get as many clicks as a Russian oligarch. I even saw a tweet from a Ukrainian patriot that said, a Russian shady watch dealer bought $9,000 pair of sneakers as a way to move money to Russia somehow. Of course, I kindly asked the author to check the fact that my own charity raised over $250,000 of aid to Ukraine since that war has started, before putting out accusations of stupid tweets, if you will. I wasn't trying to make a political statement by buying these shoes. Of course, the internet blew up. I'm getting comments and messages from on IG from people saying, "Oh, I am no longer following you, or I'm unfollowing you because you're a Trump supporter and I'm no longer doing business with you." It's funny, here I am, maybe I'm silly. I thought that people done business with Luxury Bazaar because we've been in business for 21 years, because of trust, because of personalized customer service that we provide and great pricing. But I guess I was wrong. You know what saddens me the most about this whole situation is that over something as stupid as a pair of sneakers, it showed me so clearly once again on just how divided our country is. With that said, guys, there's not a mean tweet in the world. There's not an IG post. There's not a news article that's going to stop me from being who I am. And that is a patriot of this country, a country that once let in a 13-year-old immigrant and gave me the opportunity to be where I am today. And I'm going to be thankful for that for the rest of my life. You want to hate me for wanting this country to be great again? Go ahead and judge the sneakerhead. But no matter what, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May sound cliche, but that's how I feel. Thank you, and God bless America.
Usually don't play videos that long, but I thought that was very well done and a very good response to the situation. The guy's livelihood is pretty much, well, it could have been ruined by this, media lashback just because he bought a pair of Trump shoes. It's nuts that this is a political climate we live in, Anthony.
I agree, but I also would never spend that much money on the shoes. But I get it. I get his perspective. They're like, what?
But
Like
you being a sneakerhead yourself, I mean,
yeah.
is it possible that this becomes? Remember, Yeezy had the sandals that went viral and people wanted them, and they were paying ass loads of money for it. I'm assuming Trump thinks if he puts out such a ridiculous shoe, it might hit some kind of quirk and become popular, and then it becomes
Yeah,
rapped
it's
about,
like a
memed about.
trendy, kind of limited edition thing that
You don't think
people
the shoes
wanna.
are big enough or good enough for that?
I mean, I think some people that like him, yeah, like you're gonna see these out at certain places randomly because people want to make that statement. But no, I mean, I don't. I think this was more like for him just trying to get to young people and make a statement, if anything. He said he's been trying to do this for 13 years, though. So I don't know. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is a guy who had Trump steaks, so it's
It's very. I like that he keeps the creativity alive though, and trying
yeah,
to
no, it's true.
capture more
Yeah,
people. Thing is though, as he does this, there's something that really pissed me off. I've been in and out of the office the past couple of days doing tests and such to figure out what the hell's going on with my stomach. But I woke up yesterday from a drowsy slumber, to multiple text messages from friends who are much more moderate than I am, independent. Well, I'm pretty moderate and independent myself, but they sent me over the Alabama Supreme Court ruling on frozen embryos and the situation that's now unfolding in Alabama over IVFs. And I don't think people realize that in this one move by the Supreme Court, Anthony, you just labeled a very large, not very large, but a good chunk of a generation murderers in case they don't use those embryos that they've got stocked away for IVF, purposes. So I got text message after text message of young people who had no doubt that they were going to vote Republican because they hate Joe Biden, said, I can't vote for a party that labels me a murderer because I'm not going to spend time in
yeah,
jail. I
yeah.
can't believe we're so counterintuitive with an Alabama Supreme Court decision like this. And you guys talked about on Killing Company this morning. What was the response that you guys got?
I I think generally Greg hit the nail on the head when he talked about it, but it's just this is the kind of thing it shoots the party in the foot, especially in the Northeast where people are kind of more moderate. I mean, they're probably moderate left, but at a time like this, you could easily get them. But when you're gonna, I know this is Alabama, but this is the kind of stuff. We were looking today. This is something. It was on every morning show. They're interviewing the families. They're interviewing women. Like this is the kind of thing that gets to the new young voter base, and it's the kind of emotional thing. I mean, when you look at it objectively, people are emotional voting on all ends. So this is just another way for them to do it. But it's upsetting because
Why
this
shoot
is
yourself in the freaking foot? Like, that's where I'm
yeah,
pissed off.
yeah.
Is well, you're 100%
Well, because
right.
locally they're into it. That's the problem.
But they'll make a mountain out of any molehill. So now you have a Supreme Court of generally Republicans making a decision like this, just giving ammo to the other side for a topic
Again,
that
they didn't
shouldn't
learn
be.
their lesson the first time.
Yeah, and it reckons back to abortion with the Roe versus Wade overturning and the lack of strategy that Republicans had entering into the 2022 election that I think greatly led to their loss. Like they don't have to come out as pro-choice by any means. They
Yeah.
just have to rework their way to capture young voters. My wife is scared to vote Republican because she doesn't know what path this is going to lead down. And say she gets pregnant and she is sick, she's concerned that it's going to be between her life and the baby's life, and she doesn't have a decision there. And I don't know, it's just
Yeah.
all confusing, it's all emotional. I don't have much of a stake in the fight besides to say that I lean right, if anything. But I don't understand, Anthony, why we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot with the younger generation and taking stances like this out of nowhere that frozen embryos should be considered children.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous, man. The same thing we talked about today with student loans.
Hmm.
Republicans, if only they could rework their stance on student loans into something that's appealing to a younger generation, elections would be so damn easy. But instead, they villainize anybody who's taken out a student loan by saying that they're idiots, they're stupid for doing so, rather than addressing big colleges themselves and saying, hey, look, we have a generational issue here. Let's
Hmm.
go after big college.
Yeah, well, and they act like they didn't embrace the issue as well. Like you helped dish out this money to these universities and to approve these programs. It wasn't just the Democrats. You both have been in power. So, and as we've talked about before on our show, this is something that was encouraged. If you didn't go to college, you were a loser. So this is again a societal. We can't just, and I don't agree with just canceling it. But at the same time, look at all the things they make you and force you opt into, no matter what your career is, no matter what your major is, and they force you a bag of goods that I get it, you agree to, but the system is totally rigged against every student
With
from the
no
jump.
financial literacy education.
Yep, on
Yep,
purpose. On
yep.
purpose. They don't show
They're
you that.
screwing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that bothers me most is my mom's husband is very, very conservative, and he often goes on rants about the younger generation with art degrees expecting handouts and such. And I just look at him and I say, like, I completely
It's
understand
not
your
that
point. I'm with
simple.
you. It's just not that, like,
Yeah.
did you not tell your children growing up that the path to success, the only path to success, is 4-year college? And in
Mhm.
doing so, did you not essentially tell them to sign up for student loans and did you save up to pay for them? A lot of people
Yep.
did not pay for their children's education, so now their children are saddled with this debt, and we have a society to maintain going forward that's not gonna be maintainable if you have an entire generation that cannot enter into adulthood financially.
Yeah. And everyone, yeah, especially since COVID, when they already were struggling financially, and now with inflation, people are trying to get ahead. It's impossible. So, I mean, these are all things. People, when their wallets are hurt, they're gonna vote one way. But if you're gonna totally show them, you know, if you're gonna emotionally manipulate, especially the new young voter base, which everyone acts like there's not a lot of young voters. I don't know. We continue to see a lot come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
I think especially since
Oh, you have a huge
2016.
opportunity with young voters too. The younger generation
Yeah.
does not skew as liberal as it has in the past. A lot of them are
Yeah.
looking at the liberals, progressives saying, "These guys are crazy,"
Yeah. Yeah,
you
it's
know?
true. It's
So
true.
so now is the opportunity to capture a younger vote, and, things like this Alabama ruling, the continued stance on student loans just are counterintuitive to it.
You have to operate on principles. And if the party starts doing that, it will start to get people back on board. If they don't do that, then yeah, if they're going to be hypocrites like the people on the other end, then they're just part of the problem.
Side note, I just pulled this up. This weekend, we actually adopted a pup, and there's Allie.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's go.
Half pit bull, half, chow, we think, but quite rambunctious and, quite the humper. So that's something we're trying to drive out of her right now. I guess it's something that just happens in the shelter, or maybe she's excited to be in a safe home. Minnie says, "Howdy. Howdy, Minnie. How you doing? Nice for you to check in. If you're unaware, we do, take comments. We're happy to, talk back and forth with y'all." Let's switch over to entertainment sports, Anthony, before we head out of here. It's gonna be a shorter other side today. I got a lot going on, especially with this pup. Gotta get home to feed her. But Anthony, Rust Valley Restores, I do suggest on Netflix. Just a quick side note, it's something that I've started falling asleep to, but it's a great Canadian restoration show going into cars, and the
Hmm.
characters are great. But in the world of sports, Anthony, there's a lot going on around the new jerseys that MLB and the Nike partnership have released. One of the biggest things here locally that you see with Phillies fans is there was a, if you look at the Phillies logo on the front of their shirt, there was cross stitching, a detail that lasted a long, long time. Chain stitching, I'm sorry, that would run through the Phillies, and Nike eliminated that mostly, well, assumingly because it was more expensive to do, the chain stitching. And they've now released new jerseys that are just absolute crap. And Fanatics, the company that distributes jerseys to people, are getting a lot of blame because with their partnership with Nike, they've been sending out jerseys, Fanatics, to fans. Fans have been receiving these jerseys and recognizing that they're just absolute trash. They're thin. The name plates are too small. The numbers are too big, and it's fascinating to see. And I want to bring up a picture. Uh, I'm curious to see where this goes because spring training starts Saturday, and the material's so bad, Anthony, that you see Scott Barlow here, who's just got signed by the Guardians. You can actually see his boxers under his shorts or under his
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah, and you could see the little name patch at the bottom right of the jersey too through it. So it's like you could completely it's fully see-through there, and that's obviously a problem. So that's pretty that's insane that they are that off. How long you have an entire off season, and also you have a template from last season that completely worked. At least it seemed like. I mean, I don't remember seeing see-through Phillies jerseys last year,
No,
white. They weren't,
The the
at least
the
in
the
my
joke,
mind.
like, I can't imagine if the first rain game for spring training where they have the white pants on, it's gonna be a very, explicit broadcast, I would assume. Would it not be? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I hope they fix this because the jerseys are insanely expensive. Over like I think
300, $400, right?
if for that much money, and if you're not gonna have them the legit stitched way that everyone always wanted them, it's just pretty ridiculous. I don't know if Nike's making the
$390.
jersey or if this is Fanatics making the jersey and then just using Nike materials. I mean, the Nike Dry Fit used to be stuff people loved and it was good material. So I don't know if this is something on their end, Fanatics end, but people,
Nike's doing the NFL jerseys too, right?
I believe, yes,
And
they are.
Fanatics.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
have been trash recently too.
Yeah, I mean, their saving grace for
Quality.
Eagles fans was the Kelly Green.
The Kelly Green, but I got a jersey Kelly Green, and compared to the old Reebok jerseys of the mid 2000s and all, the quality is just very disappointing. But on the screen, you see a Harper jersey. This isn't authentic. This is what do they say? Let me get the price on that. $395, Anthony. And it's
That's
just it,
crazy.
it it looks worse than a Chinese knockoff. And you see the Phillies there no longer has chain stitching, and the nameplate's actually crooked. Yeah. So, but I bring it up because it's gonna be fascinating to follow because I think it's gonna get to the point that players are gonna protest by wearing different kinds of underwear, thongs, polka dot, type boxers, and when the rain comes, they'll have things to show there until the Fanatics and Nike change things. But also locally, Anthony, you have the situation with the Eagles unfolding, and Derek Gunn tweeted out a long tweet, essentially saying uh, that Big Dom, was on the sidelines to hand a pacifier to Nick Sirianni uh, to calm him down because he would almost get into arguments with his players. And then when Dom was kicked off the sidelines, Sirianni would actually argue with the players, was the assumption that was made there. And that's what led to the downfall, the negative end of the season that we saw at the Eagles. And do you think there's truth to Dom being on the sidelines for the sole reason of being a babysitter for Nick Sirianni?
It's a wild concept if it's true. I think that goes into my concerns of his I don't know, his instincts as a leader, really. Like it doesn't seem like he was making a lot of the decisions. He was just almost that face figure cheerleader type of guy. And if you're if you're just gonna be like screaming at your players mid game, that I mean, there's no way you're gonna be successful. So I also saw AJ Brown was tweeting
Yeah.
after this, pretty much saying Philly media is the absolute worst, and that we hate ourselves more than anyone else hates us. So that's why everyone says we're the worst anyway.
So he's retracted that, essentially saying that that wasn't him posting it. But then he went on Instagram soon after and subtweeted what that poster said and said there's truth to it. And essentially undressing Philadelphia fans, saying that if you can't love your own team, how do you expect others to love us?
Why is someone always hacking his devices?
It's a
I
great point.
I I don't know. I mean, it's true to a point. I feel like he probably did say it, but regardless, the Eagles are in a weird spot right now. I'm just worried
Why
with
is
all the
Lurie
good
standing
coach.
by Sirianni? I don't get it. What do you think he sees in Sirianni? What do you see in Sirianni? You still seem kind of in favor of him more so than most, giving him a shot. What is it that Sirianni
I mean,
even?
he got us to a Super Bowl a year ago, and I think we made a mistake just jumping off of Doug. So I don't necessarily want to make the same mistake, but he also seems like he's less prepared to be in this position and to get us back to where we need to be. So I mean,
I seem still over his head.
the more we move forward, the more it seems like he doesn't know what he's doing. And I mean, it also seems like both of the assistants they got are essentially head coach options, really. And that could maybe they could just step up after. But why are we
Coach of the
waiting
Eagles,
then?
Kellen Moore next year.
Why are we waiting then? But
Happening.
it's just, I do hate firing coaches as much as it seems like the Eagles want to.
But I have a short patience.
We're the opposite of the Steelers. We're the
Yeah, we are.
opposite.
Mike
We're the
Tomlin gets
Steelers,
into it.
and yeah, they're just obsessed with Tomlin. They're never going to get rid of him, and we're just the consummate fire everyone every
I just have
year.
no respect for Sirianni.
Yeah,
Like, I've lost all respect for the guy. I don't think he has it in. He talks about culture that he wants to build, but then when you read between the lines and look at what the culture that he brings, it's not something good. It's not a good culture that you're bringing. And if you allegedly have Big Dom on the sidelines to calm you down and not get you in fights with your players, and him being off the sidelines leads to, distress in the locker room, get the hell
hmm
out of here, dude. Like you're not a professional coach. You're not an NFL. There are 32 of these guys, top level football coaches in the entire country, and you're telling me Sirianni is one of those top 32 best minds to run a football team? There's absolutely no way, no way in hell, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's seeming more and more like he doesn't have control. So, but it almost seems like that's what Howie and Lori want. So
Yeah.
that's another concern.
Minnie, thank you very much for rescuing the dog. Please be patient. Understand it's hard, Minnie. It's tough. It's tough. She's quite the but it's all love. Like she's very loving but she uses her teeth to show her love, and that's something we have to train out of her. And she likes to, jump up on things and hump a lot of things. And we'll get there though. Dan writes in Tomlin's dried corpse will be in the locker room forever. I don't think he's wrong there.
Yeah, literally going to be mummified and pulled out there every day.
Bryce Harper contract. Your thoughts on that? The
Why
request.
why is that why is that a conversation? It's absolutely absurd. How long has he been here?
Yeah.
3
4 years.
years, 4 years, 4
Yeah.
years, I think 4. But regardless, how long is that deal? 12?
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, why do you need an extension with I think there's 7 years
Yeah.
left on the deal when all is said and done, and the guy's
Yeah.
asking for an extension. He's due hundreds of millions of dollars, and in asking for this extension, you often hear on WIP, they kind of filter out the callers that are saying I said this on the Dom show, the ones that are the curmudgeons that say, "Oh, he should be trying harder. There's a bunch of people working their asses off, blue collar jobs, and he's making
Mhm.
millions of dollars to play a game." They usually filter those callers out because there's not much to go off of. But today they let them through because they agree with it. They were saying that Bryce Harper deserves that kind of mentality because there are tons of people making much less than him that aren't able to ask for 7 years, hundreds of millions of dollars. And the known effect that will bring is if you're giving someone more money, that goes back onto the fans and ticket prices and those kind of things. So I just it's not a good move. I think it's the first misstep for Bryce Harper here in Philadelphia. I can't think of anything else he's done wrong, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, it does. It seems out of touch, especially after not winning and not pulling through last year when he was as guilty as anybody at the end of that series of swinging for the fences no matter what the pitch looked like. And I'm not saying it was all on him, but when you're a guy like Bryce Harper and you're supposed to be the man, you kind of have to step up in those moments, and he didn't. So, if he did and he asked for that extension, if he asked for more money, I wouldn't be as opposed. I wouldn't be as intolerant. But after 2 straight years of like tasting the World Series and not getting it because of their own fault, definitely kind of a lowbrow move.
kind of rubs me the wrong way too. Like you
Yeah.
got like you had a guy, Reese Hoskins, who could play first base, and you've essentially elbowed him out the door. Someone who could have, in my opinion, made the team better because of your want to play first base. Um, it's starting. I don't know. Will it continue to turn on Bryce? I don't think so. I hope not. But there are definitely questionable moves recently that,
I'd say the Phillies are the team I'm least worried about.
yeah,
Even with them not adding, like, it seems like clearly they wanted another starter, but I think they're in a good spot. They
yeah.
are.
I see you got the Phillies on. I also have, and
Yeah.
ahead of spring training, I got a little Philly shirt on as
I'll
well.
be heading down to the Sixers game tonight, actually. So
Are you?
we'll see. Yeah.
Who they got
Sixers
tonight, huh?
Knicks.
Oh, that's a good one. I saw that on FanDuel. I was thinking about betting that 1 point favorites, if I remember correctly, which is
I'll
strange to
take
me.
Sixers at home. I'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
with
Yeah.
1 point. How do they
Kyle
perform without
Lowry, I
Embiid though?
think it's the first Lowry game, I'm pretty sure. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, some 30. What are you? 39 years old though. Like, what the hell is
yeah,
the guy actually going to add to the
I
team?
think he'll be a nice bench piece. It kind of sucks that we lost Pat Bev, but at the same time, campaign looks good. So I'll take it. You know, it seems like some of their additions have been better than what they had, but it just sucks because Embiid's still out.
So, as someone that follows the Sixers closely, are you still looking forward to the playoffs, or are you just kind of thinking this is a
Yeah,
throwaway at this point?
I'm still excited, but it just sucks because you need time for Embiid to get back into that form. Even with a guy like that, he can come back pretty quickly, but you don't want him to get hurt again, and it's such a slippery slope. It's just unfortunate the way it came down because the timeline really is he just gets back for playoffs. So we'll see, and that's happened before, and it doesn't always work out great. And it really isn't his fault. He's a huge guy. He's been in the league for a decade now. So hopefully they still have a shot. The thing is the league isn't what it used to be. Like there isn't this insane super team to stop. Like everyone's pretty competitive this year. So if the Sixers do get him back and they get, continue to roll here with these young guys on the bench, I don't know. Maxey looks good. So there's a shot. I talk myself back into it, but the shot is smaller and smaller just because of the lack of Embiid being there. I mean, after he is able to play MVP, but can he do that again this season?
Who
That's the
have a better
question.
shot for a championship, Eagles or Sixers?
I mean, just based off vibes right now, I'd say Sixers have a
Yeah.
better shot. The Eagles are scaring me just with how they continue to operate in all these reports on social
Why? Been you
media.
get any dates yet? I've been
But
trying, man.
a
I've been thinking
side
about
note,
you. Yeah.
a side note, if you're looking for a good bet, I would say, especially because UConn just lost, UConn to win the championship right now is probably the best odds you'll get. And
Really?
yeah, I think that's a solid bet. They're better than they were last year, and they
Is that
won it last
biased
year.
though? I mean, like,
It's a
let's be
little
clear.
biased because I
You
watch
lived in
UConn.
Hartford for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, it's a little biased, but they're legit. Like I watch them a lot, and they really, really are good. They're as good as anyone, and I know
Purdue
people
just lost to
downplay.
Ohio State. I saw
Yeah, yeah.
number
I
2.
I just think there hasn't been a team as dominant as the UConn men's team in a long time. So I'm confident they can still win it.
What are the
Even
odds on that? Do you know? I'm pulling it up now. It's plus
let's look.
500.
Yeah,
Plus
yeah,
500.
that's the best you're gonna get right now,
10 for
especially after a
$50.
loss. Yeah,
And Purdue is 10 for 80. I can't combine those two into a single game parlay. Two NCAA basketball champions. I don't know why.
yeah, yeah. They don't want you to do that.
Final thing, CPAC happening right now. Go tune over to Rich Zioli, who's live out there. Allegedly got a big guest coming up at 6. But your thoughts, Vice President, where you have any developing theories on who it might be?
I just have an inkling that it'll be. I mean, he keeps talking about Tim Scott. I feel like he kind of wants to make it Tim Scott. He keeps randomly bringing up Tim Scott, um, like in that interview he had with Fox. But and yes, Dan, I did live in Hartford, unfortunately. Uh,
Yeah, Scott. I don't know though, man. Like, there's something awkward about him when he gets up and speaks. Like,
yeah, but that wouldn't be off brand for Trump. I do think Trump wants a
it's true.
woman. I think maybe someone like
Christy
Stefanik.
Noem. Oh, Stefanik.
Yeah, I could
Okay.
see that. But I don't know. Does it really matter that much? I mean, it matters to us because we're speculating, but I think most people,
Oh,
their
I think it
minds
matters
made up.
tons. No, I
Yeah.
think in the suburbs, um, you think people's minds are so made up that a VP candidate wouldn't matter?
I just think the partisan people are. I don't know. There's other people that want options. I think RFK, is gonna do okay. I don't, not to sound totally cliche, but uh I just think
Yeah.
people are set in their ways. I kind of do. And I don't necessarily think people are as excited as last election because they were so told they had to, oh, it's the election of I think people are kind of sick of it. We'll see. I mean, especially with stuff like this abortion thing. But you think women in the suburbs will be way more motivated if it's like Stefanik, or if the urban community would be more motivated if
No,
it was
I
Tim
think it's
Scott? Like, I don't
it's
know.
largely. I hate to go back to this, but I think it's really based, and Dom says this on air all the time, on an abortion stance. If you can
Yeah.
put a woman in there who is not completely pro-choice, but leans more towards that direction than some of the other more radical pro-life Republicans, I think you would capture a suburban woman vote that thinks the Republican Party doesn't want us. They don't like us, so we don't like them. But if you can welcome a entire sect of voters into the party with a VP candidate by essentially saying, "Hey, look, we got an ally here as VP," I do think that would open a lot of doors for Trump moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I value that opinion, and I do think Trump seems like he understands that they need to change on abortion more than the others, but he's like just the most polarizing person ever. I don't know how many people are on the fence and they're like, oh, well, whoever he picks for VP, then that'll make my mind up. Like, I just think you either love him or you hate him, and most people aren't going to change that about what they think of him, at
Yeah,
least now.
I disagree. I'll agree to disagree because what we'll see coming up. I mean, how
Yeah.
much? Do they get talking because of the VP candidate? I'm sorry that I kept that up there for so long that you lived in Hartford. I wasn't trying to make fun of you for that.
That's all right.
Dan says, "What did I miss? Lily Tomlin's corpse. Why was that mentioned?" And Wyman says, "She's hot, ain't she?" Wyman, you need a female in your life, apparently. Very badly. That's some desperation right there if you're saying that. Correcting that. But hey, we got to get going. I got this doggy to feed. I do got to get back there. Usually I'm from home, but I did from the station today. And we'll talk to you again next week. But Anthony, any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I don't have anything too polarizing. We'll catch you next week. We'll have an extra long episode next week, and maybe we could introduce the dog on the live stream at some point if you train her long enough.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is why I'm here today. Is I can't trust her not jumping on me right now. But
The camera is going to be knocked down, computer destroyed.
we will get there. And for Minnie's sake, just so she knows, I have a lot of experience training dogs. Maisie was actually training to be a vet, so there's a lot of love that we're giving her, and absolutely no like harm or a lot of patience, a lot more than she get with a standard person. I just and I like to believe that we are very good dog trainers. So hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll have this little girl working our way. But until then, well, not until a couple of weeks, but until next week's episode, we will be here 12 to WPHD. Oh, people passing. Dom Giordano program for me, 12 to 3. Anthony DiRenzo, you're pretty much everywhere else on the station, huh?
Yeah, Kale Company, Dawn Show will be live every day, 6 till 12. I'll be with you. And Rich is at CPAC, I think, for the rest of the week. So tune in for that.
Mangle says, my kid's 30 now. I want to advocate retroactive abortion.
Yeah, can I return this one?
All right, have a good one, everyone. Talk to you later.
See ya.